Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MilsimUnits.com podcast. I'm your host, C. Brock, and with me tonight we have Commanding Officer Colonel J. Reacher from Task Force 72. Reacher, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. It's great to have you on the show here. Really looking forward to getting a little bit deeper into TF72 and what they're all about. You guys are growing and going strong at the same time. So, with that, we'll get right into it. Now,
Yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I thought I heard a break. If you had something else to go for it, go for it.
Well, what I like to do is I want to start with you as the CEO. You are the man up front. You're the image of the unit. You know the insides and out. But everyone has their origin story, as a lot of guys like to say. So tell us about your start in Milsim Gaming. Where did it begin with you?
With the Milsim itself, it goes way beyond Arma and the Arma community. Because I feel like I've gotten to the day where people kind of round about the same couple of games into the Milsim category. But I actually started on Black Ops and Call of Duty was my Modern Warfare 2 group. We moved on to Black Ops 2 back in 2012 when the game came out, and we created a quick shouting clan or a quick shouting trick shouting clan. I forget what you would call them back in the day. We were named Rove, ROV3, which I think there's now a competitive MLG team with that name, which is pretty cool. But no, I mean, so it started back before that, and then we moved on to the Battlefield era, and I think that's honestly when I fell in love. It was Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Just the dynamics, throwing in the teamwork, realizing that there's a lot more to first-person tactical shooters than just running, jumping, sliding,
Right.
just doing the bare minimum, shoot and kill. Like there's real strategy that can go into this game. Like you can take a group of guys who, I got a group of vets and active duty, and that's one of the reasons I love it is we're always using that strategy. So I guess to round that about is I've been doing this for a while, and I'm just happy that I'm happy there's an entire community based on it.
Sure.
It really makes me sit well.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you got a lot of experience. I mean, you've been in gaming obviously for a long time, for Milsim for that matter, for over a decade now. So it's kind of a natural progression for a lot of guys. And I mean, I've heard other unit leaders and players describe a similar background to their getting into Milsim, working up through Battlefield and getting into the Armorverse. I mean, we've got some options, and that's the thing. The future is wide open with the games we got now and in development. So we'll talk about that in a little bit as we look forward to TF72. But I just want to know about the formation of TF72. How did the unit start? What role did you play in it? Give our audience a little background on the history.
Well, I've always been the advocate. I've always been the commanding officer of it type of thing. But it really started out as an idea back in the day. I was an idea of a 100% realistic aviation unit that would stand out as the 72nd Aviation Brigade. And that's how the task force started, was just one of the units inside of it. And I thought I found my niche. I thought we still kind of do it somewhat to the degree, but we do it on a larger scale involving other things like infantry, SF, intelligence, whatever. But it was more the troubles I occurred trying to do just aviation. So when I realized that it really wasn't gonna click, it wasn't gonna launch, I folded and I laid down my cards, I folded, and it was a decision that I've come to regret and that I've vowed to never do again, because it was something, it was almost like an admission of defeat. And I've been completely transparent with my guys about that. I disbanded that old one, and then about a week later, oh no, sorry, this would have been about 3 weeks later. I was up one night, I was sitting on Arma, and I just had an F it moment. I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna start the server. I'm just gonna lay out the framework. Um, I'm just going to set everything up as if it were, and I'm still gonna go the realistic route, but the chill route, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what a lot of units are about. They're about the having a good experience, but having a fun experience, and I respect that. And after I kind of rebranded to having just the aviation unit inside of the task force, it it almost seemed to be immediate, but we launched.
Hmm.
We launched. Um, and I won't say that in a way of like, oh, we're, we have a lot of people, but it's more in the sense of like, we're sitting on a solid like 30, a group of 30 of us who have solid camaraderie, and I think it's a very good start to the task force.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just simply it was just going to be an all aviation brigade, 3 flight companies, 1 maintenance company. I had the entire framework laid out to have full aviation. But lo and behold, my one fear of, well, nobody wants the boring, the outstanding roles, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That's fair. People, and that's when it kind of occurred to me, I'm like, I need to find that perfect line of this is a game, but it's also a simulator. What do people want out of both? And out of that question, I created Task Force 72.
Gotcha. So yeah, you kind of you had a good thing going there. Faced some challenges, some real struggles. It sounds like, but you overcame it. You kind of shifted gears. Changed your course and adapted to the situation. So I'd call it a success. As you continue to grow and develop. Now, what about your unit's operations? Training events, combat missions. Can you tell us about how you structure those, your schedule, and what makes those stand out? Compared to other units you know of.
So, like the actual gameplay itself, I would say isn't what makes us stand out. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it is Arma, and there's what these days there's got to be what hundreds of thousands, maybe just thousands of servers still. But there's a lot of servers that kind of go for the same idea.
Sure.
I think honestly, it is the camaraderie on the field and in the trainings while we do it. Because it's the simple ability of like I said, the name of the unit on on all the forums and everything like that is Task Force 72 Arma Realism chillsim unit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't even think that's a thing. And I honestly, to be frank, don't really care because that's what we are. It's a realism unit, but it's a chillsim. And at the end of the day, it's as simple as I don't yell at my guys. I'm not the one who logs onto the server and be like, stop, start yelling. I look at them and be like, all right, guys, let's lock it in. We got a brief in 5 minutes. And you just see the demeanor and everybody change. There's no real life, but it's almost like you can see them straighten out their backs. And it's a good feeling just knowing that, like, hey, we're ready to all lock in and have this band of brothers and sisters sometimes on 4 days of the week. We we can just do it, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't say it's necessarily, what we have to offer, like the trainings itself. I mean, on that note, we do have quite a few certified guys who, like my guy running airborne,
Hmm.
he's he's currently in the selection process in real life to become airborne.
Ah,
So that's
that's great.
why when he joined, he had like a tweak or two for our airborne school,
Hmm.
and I loved it because it made it more realistic. Um, which that's always something I'm open to is, I've even to this day, like 4 days ago, I had an active duty 11 Bravo join, and he had another comment about my infantry setup, and it only made it more realistic, and it just kind of bringing in that camaraderie.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes a big difference for a lot of units because a lot of players are looking for that. I mean, yeah, there's, different interests in realism and immersion, but it's the relationships between the guys, to your left and your right in the trenches that really make the experience. When you're down there, 2, 3 hours at a stretch, maybe even longer, depending on your mission set. But
Exactly.
yeah. So
Because it can
yeah, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, you know, you can be given the best operation ran by the best game masters or whatever you're doing on the game platform, but if you're not having a good time while on that operation, I truly don't see a point.
Yeah, exactly. It's pointless. Nobody wants to sit there and pretend to lay in the mud, for the whole time having a miserable mission.
Right.
Definitely, it's got to be fun, and that's what it's a game at the end of the day, and we're coming here, not to I don't know, not to prove ourselves or get ripped or win medals or whatever. When you think about it, we're here to get on a server with like-minded individuals who are looking for a similar experience and are mature and engaged enough to work together, and that's what sets Milsim apart from any other genre out there. Now you
That's
mentioned,
very well said.
well, I appreciate that. Well, shit, man. I mean, it's inspiring to hear you describe the unit because that's what a lot of units want, and like I said, that's what players are looking for. So you got a good thing going. But I like how you mentioned you've got some vets in there, mix of vets and active duty and civilian players. How do you balance that realism and immersion? I mean, well, like, what's the fine line? Updating kit or updating a training regimen or module is one thing, but when you're under fire, how do you maintain that fun? In relationship to the realism aspect of it.
So that's a very good question. Just to kind of dial it in. So you mean like on the operations themselves, kind of the mixture of the milsim and the chillsim?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's like if you're not demanding people report in and call you sir and all that, that's one thing in training. But I'm trying to imagine the combat scenarios. How do you get that sim going and keep it fun for the entire length of the mission?
So the way that line is kind of drawn in my unit specifically is amongst the unit themselves. So Task Force 72 is a chillsim unit. Or a realism chillsim unit, excuse me. So it kind of rounds itself out. Amongst it, we have uh, 5 units. We have the task force headquarters, the infantry, special forces, SOAR, and the 72nd. And you'll notice, oh, I guess suppose minus headquarters, add on the military police, same idea. But specifically, we have 2 ground units and 2 air units, if you would notice. The SOAR and the 72nd, and then the Special Forces group and the 41st Infantry. So I kind of break it up amongst there. The infantry and 72nd are chillsim, and Special Forces and 160th SOAR are milsim.
Ah,
Amongst that, my guys, at least so far, I haven't. I think there's about 70 people in the server, about 40 active. So far, I haven't really seen a clash in their play styles yet. That part usually only comes, when they're outside of the ops and the trainings. But the trainings themselves and the operations themselves kind of as well round themselves out because it'll usually sway one way or another. It'll sway with either the Milsim guys stick together and the Chillsim guys stick together, and they both get the operation done, but on their own terms. You know, one going far more into the elite tier 1 style of movement, callouts, communication movements, doing everything fluently and, not messing up, versus on the infantry side, they're out there, they're probably cracking jokes to each other while they're walking to the objective. Odds are they're not taking it as seriously, versus a mile away you have a unit that's 100% taking it seriously. And but when it comes down to it, the guys who are milsim or chillsim, excuse me, are still there to obviously get the job done. They want to have that operation and shoot the shit, or shoot some stuff, but the fine line, I would say, is within the units, because I'll also host milsim only operations and chillsim only operations,
ah.
which nobody's excluded. It's just more like if you're not looking for a chillsim op, you'll go to the milsim ops kind of thing. Um, it's kind of really hard to explain actually, but it's a really delicate blend, and it's the one thing that I've devoted a lot of my time building this unit to do, is have that delicate blend.
Yeah. It sounds like it. It sounds complicated, like I said, and it's kind
Very.
of unique. It's the first time I've heard of a unit that had different elements with kind of different play styles, like kind of subgenres almost within the unit. Obviously
Right.
every squad, every platoon, they've got their kind of vibe going. They got their style, but it's interesting how you describe these different elements with their different kind of mindsets, still getting the job done. They're attacking the objectives, working together, and accomplishing the mission. So it all, you're giving people options of, how they want to run and gun. But at the end of the day, it's all finished. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always that back and forth where it's like, I guess the easiest way to explain my last 5 minutes of rambling is this is it's a place where you can come and do both. Where if you're a Milsim guy, you can come and do Milsim, but you can see the benefits of what it could be like to do chillsim, and vice versa. If you're a chillsim guy, you can come in and see the good side of Milsims as well, and depending on how that goes, might persuade somebody to just want to be more involved on both sides as well.
Yep, yep, that is really fascinating. But I'm wondering here. So you got these different elements with your infantry, special forces, your aviation detachments. With the camaraderie of Task Force 72 being the most important element of your gameplay, what do you do as a leader to foster that sense of community among the members here?
I would say, honestly, that's a very good question. I think it's honestly the fact that we go regardless. And I guess what I mean by that is if there's 3 or 30 people on, we're going to start the op. Because those 3 people who are on time, I don't want to take time away from the people on time to wait for the people who were not on time.
All right.
And not to say that there's not going to be engagement for them afterwards or for the people who are joining a little bit later, but like regardless of if there's 7 people or in excess of 14, if we're going to start on a schedule, and if there's, server issues going on, whatever, outside of our control, obviously we'll draw it back. But it's one of those, like, I've been in that position where people don't really take full advantage of what they have. They're always looking for more. They're like, oh, we only have 9 people on the server. Let's get 20. The way I look at it is, all right, we got 9 people on the server. Let's split up us 9 into each having a different specialty. How are we going to utilize all 9 of you? What are each of your jobs going to be? All right, let's start working on our SOP for this op. What are our nets? Like I don't focus on anything outside of that except for the 9 guys I have in the server. That's what's important. Sure, I'll throw out an announcement and be like, hey guys, there's a couple of us in here. Come join us if you want, and then I'll close it right back up and get back to it. Whenever I'm doing the actual game itself, I would say I would go to say that they appreciate that. I think they notice and they appreciate the fact that there's a genuine care, and this goes from top down. There's a genuine care that everybody has for each other. Like there's no, I don't think I've ever said once in a training to not leave a man behind, but it's never happened. Besides the uh, basic training, like it's one of those. That sounded really dumb. We obviously
I know
tell
what you
people
mean.
not to leave each other, but you know what
Yeah,
I mean.
sure, absolutely.
But yeah, I'd say they did. They, excuse me. I would say they appreciate it to the extent.
Yeah, that sounds like well, pardon my expression here, but you give a shit, and it inspires them to care as well. So you're watching
Yeah.
out for each other. That's the thing. You came to have a good time, to have that fun. You're gonna make it happen, come hell or high water.
Hmm.
So I got to ask, so you've got this kind of I don't want to call it a hybrid unit, but you got this unit with these different elements with their respective styles. Can you share a funny or unexpected moment that happened during a training session or an operation? I can only
Uh,
imagine.
but that's a very good one. I don't think I actually prepared for that one. There's quite a few. I mean, to be honest, I think one of my favorite moments, and it's not even due to like the humor of the situation, but I think my favorite moment is when one of the because my unit is fostered up of a bunch of groups of friends, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like it's one guy joins and he's like, "Oh, this place is cool. I'm gonna invite my two buddies," and then it's like a bunch of groups of like three or four buddies kind of thing, and each of them bring in their own set of everything to the unit. They bring in their own personality, they bring in their own skill set, they bring in what they bring in as a human being. That's what makes us human and special. Excuse me. Sorry. My lungs have been giving me crap the last week.
Yep. It's that time of year. Allergies are crazy for me. So,
Sorry. All right. But I don't know. It's like you said. I mean, and to go back on what you said, I would call it a hybrid unit. Um, I think that is definitely a good descriptor of it.
well, you mentioned, at the beginning here about how your aviation brigade, kind of, you tried, you kept it afloat or kept it in air, I guess you could say, for a bit, but then had to, kind of rebuild a foundation with Task Force 72. What's like, the biggest challenge that you faced since, you restarted the unit?
I would say that's also a very good question. Retainment.
Hmm.
Um, well, no, not even that, because I have the whatever Discord bot, and it shows me when people join and leave. Um, and I don't ever like look into it, but I always just open it whenever the message pops up, and I'll always kind of keep track of at what points in time we are losing a lot of people who join right away, and I'll kind of just try to put it in my own perspective. But I look for the people who are oh, that's different. Who are kind of joining and putting in effort right away. But I would say the issue would be trying to kind of smooth it all out. Like as because we're about a month old and we're at about 70 members right now.
Hmm.
Um, I would say trying to smooth out the finite and minute details, like getting everybody on the same page kind of thing. I would say that's one of the bigger, and that's honestly goes to say for any kind of smaller community, and their struggles that they face.
No,
I'd say
absolutely.
just getting everybody on the same page of the same book on the same chapter. Because you could be on the same page. There's a page 23 on every single book, but you got to be on the same book, same chapter, same page. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'd say that's definitely, and I'd say, a lot of people listening as well and other unit leaders would go to agree that say that, yeah, just getting that system in place, just getting everything perfect, but it'll never be perfect. That's okay.
Yep. No plan survives first contact with the enemy. So, but yeah, I mean, seriously though, that's a big question for a lot of units, particularly the new ones with guys who are doing it for the first time. Maybe, we're hoping to get not only just put the spotlight on different Milsim units here in the community, but foster that that higher level of community where we can learn from each other and all kind of thrive with the lessons learned from this particular unit or this
Right.
particular game style, etc. So it's an important question, and I appreciate the answer here because, and like you said, retention that's a big part of it, But as a new unit, you're kind of getting settled into place, figuring out what works, what needs to be adapted and refined. But with time and with good people who are investing in the community, that's what it takes. And it looks like you guys are on the right track. So,
Oh yeah,
uh,
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you engage with potential recruits? With the general Milsim audience out there. Obviously, you're on our Discord. You're on our website here. Guys get to see your profile page there and learn a little bit more for themselves. But what do you do as a CEO to to find those potential recruits? Outside of the server.
Excuse me on that. That's a good question. I would say and I've had people offer to help me with this in my unit, and I dismiss the help because I want this to be my task to mantle, solely because I go about it a really specific way. Like you said, I'm only on two forums. I'm on your Milsim units Discord and website, and I'm on the main Arma Discord. And that's it.
Hmm.
Every 2 weeks, I go through and repost my Arma post on both communities and Xbox post. And then once a day, I go through on the Milsim Units Discord, your guys's, and I'll repost my template. Other than that, I really leave it up to natural growth because I was the XO of another unit for quite some time, and when I was in this unit, we really focused on the expansion. We really focused on engaging a new target audience. We always focused on getting new people in the door, getting people set up with everything, and recruitment and this and that. And during that process, it's almost like a parent-child relationship. It's like we abandoned the people that we had in the unit.
Hmm.
Our command team was so focused on getting people in the doors that the people who were in the doors weren't getting anything.
Yep.
And I saw that, and that was a big part that I took with me building this unit is I'm not going to necessarily I'm not going to call it a waste of time because that's not what it is, but I'm not going to spend my time getting new people in when I have people in who also want that time. So I'll kind of leave it up for the recruit to decide on their own. I've thought about, going on to different more Arma forums because I know Arma's all over the place these days. And I probably will get to that, but even then I'll probably still go about it with the same attitude. Like, you can join, go through our entry process, look at our pipeline, because my entry process is simple. It's when you enter, you don't have to do things to see the unit. I let you see the unit. Like the MOSs we offer, all of our units, the command roster, like I'll let you see what you want, what I think people want to see to join a unit, and they'll make their decision off of that. If they like our setup, usually they go further into the pipeline, they'll open up a ticket. And if they don't like the setup, usually they're the ones, like I said previously, in that join left area who are joining and then leaving, 20 minutes later. And I'll never be one to take offense to that because obviously it's a video game. But I want the people who stop in, read this information, are like, hell yeah, I want this, and put that effort in because this also draws back to when you asked where do I draw that line is really simple. Like if you just show up, show out a little bit, just literally, how do I word this? Actually, that's not even a complicated. I'm overthinking it. Give me 10%. 10% in a month. I think that's pretty simple. But for outsourcing engagement, I would say that's definitely on the lower of my priorities. I try to focus on the engagement with the recruits as they come in. So like I got a new recruit, cool. I'll give him a solid hour and a half of my time, like as he joins the server. I assume as we get bigger, that's gonna have to get whittled down. But I'll happily give a new recruit as much time as until he closes that ticket or says I have no more questions. I'm gonna keep responding. I'm gonna keep answering his questions, and I have no problem with it because I want people to have all the information that they need to make a decision that they're gonna make if they want to be in this unit or not.
Well, you raised an important point there about sticking with your guys once they're in. I mean, the last thing you want to do is go through all the trouble of recruiting somebody to the unit for him to go through a revolving door and what do you call it, discharge, a month or two down the road there. Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
invest in your guys. Once you get them, it's not just about getting those numbers. I mean, that's kind of like the beginner salesman kind of perspective. It's about sustainment, about keeping it going long term. And like you said earlier, it's all about that community, that camaraderie. You gotta invest in your people, and stick with them, and not just look for the next face down the road. So some really good perspectives there, I think, for that issue, because it is a challenge, like you mentioned, but there are ways to manage it, and I'd say 70 people, 40 regulars. I think that speaks for itself there. So
I think it's killer.
yeah. So I gotta ask. I mean, you guys are new, but you're up and coming. You hit the ground running, and you're taking off with it. Where do you see yourself in the next year? What is TF72 going to look like? Say, the beginning of summer 2026.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't see us that much bigger numbers wise. Like you said, we're at 70 people in the server as of what's the date? 5/19/25 as recording this. And we have 70 in, let's say 35, 40 active. I honestly expect those numbers to be relatively the same. Um, Maybe roughly up to like 60 to 70 active. Um, Simply out of this kind of reverse to what we were just talking about is like honing in on what we have. I don't in a year, I don't want to see us bigger. I want to see us stronger. You know, I, I guess skill set wise, stronger skill set wise. Like each of the trainings that we offer, um, we offer quite an assortment. I know we have like I said, we have airborne. We have all the basics. We have combat medical, we have CLS, we have an aviation pipeline. But we also have some unique ones like airborne, which is we'll teach people Halo and Hey-Ho.
Hmm.
Marksman sniper. We do have JTech certified people in here, like I said, with some veterans and active duty. And then we also have a very, very realistic SFQS, or not, sorry, not SFQS, QC, excuse me,
Yep.
SFAS, Special Forces Assessment and Selection. I believe SFQC would be Rangers, Green Beret specifically, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think
Besides the point.
yeah, Q
Or,
courses.
sorry.
That's like the 6 phase select, or once you get selected, you go to the Q course. You got to finish
Yes, nope,
those,
there
if
it
I
is.
remember
Yep.
correctly.
Yeah, yep, SFAS, then SFQC. Yes. Um, but kind of honing in on those as well. Like I have a lot of guys who the NCOs and the OICs are running those as the instructors in cadre.
Hmm.
They're kind of a lot of them are, I would say not a lot. A couple of them in charge are active duty vets, but a lot of it are people like me who, I'm a civilian who's looked into joining the military and was turned down. Like I would have to sign a waiver type of thing. And so most of my knowledge comes from just genuine research and uh, past person-to-person knowledge throughout my time in the Milsim community. Like you said, it's been over a decade. I've talked to countless people who have actively served in the past, in just short time in passing. Like we've created a really cool engagement for training that I think if we just hone in on that and just kind of set the stone in the foundation, I would say that that's kind of where we'll be in a year. Instead of, on this massive scale of growing here and there, having two, three, four, or 500 people, that's not my goal. My goal is to relatively stay underneath that heavy hitter mark, just so we can, obviously until everything's smoothed out system wise, so we can really focus on the people coming through the doors.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're not focused on the quantity per se. You're looking at quality. Not only of the
Quality
unit,
over quantity.
yeah, what not only what you're offering the guys, but also improving their skill sets and their camaraderie. On the line. So
Right.
yeah, absolutely. It's like every leader's got his own perspective, his vision, or her for that
Well,
matter. Yeah, and
exactly
if it
that.
works for you, that's what you need to get or get moving with. So
Right.
absolutely.
I was gonna add one more thing
Yeah,
there.
go ahead.
And kind of I tell my guys this because I have no stipulation about cross milsimming or what the guys call it.
Yeah, dual
Um,
clanning or
I
multi clanning.
or dual clanning. What's the other word? Dual gilding. There it is.
Sure.
I like that one.
Old school.
I've heard that one a couple of times. But no, I kind of encourage my guys because a lot of my guys are in other units, whether it be this, that, etc. I tell them like, hey, if you learn something valuable here, and you're in like an NCO position somewhere else or whatever, like you're a leader somewhere else, like feel free to take this information because this information truly is valuable. Like if you take this, you teach this to your guys in another group. Like granted, I'd rather you teach it to my guys, but
Right.
teach this valuable information to everybody you can because that's essentially what we're on this game to do is to A, have fun, play a video game, but B, make connections, learn, and back to A, have fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, looking at the greater community here within Milsim, what do you think, we could do to improve the experience? I mean, like, what kind of innovations or changes would you want to see for Task Force 72 or just for the community in general?
I think for the community in general, I say this with love, I say this with kindness, and I say this with respect. Everybody in the community is a little tense about the like the poaching and the stealing other people, at least from my perspective. And obviously, like I said, I'm not in all of these forums. I'm in one where I can see a little bit of the NATO stuff, and I see it in people. The way people kind of interact with each other is baffling to me. It's almost. I think if everybody were to just kind of take a deep breath, relax a little bit, and realize that we're all here for the same mission, I don't think there would be as many beefs and rivalries as there is right now.
Hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and say those aren't there. Obviously, they're there. Like in any community, any society. I think if everybody kind of came together and understood, like, hey, if we were all for one in this, or all for one for all, I think that would benefit the community a lot. And I'm not going to say that, or sorry, let me reword that. And that's not going to say that the community itself isn't already amazing. Like, if it wasn't amazing, I wouldn't be here,
Hmm.
obviously. But it's just one of those, like, to make it better, I think truly, if everybody kind of got off their high horse a little bit and realized, like, hey, we're not the best, we're not the biggest, and that's A-okay, brother. We're all here because we want to have a good time. And I'm not calling it toxic, because that word definitely has not left my mouth. And I want to clarify that I'm not calling it toxic. It's just more abrasive.
Hmm.
Um, not is that the right word? Abrasive,
Yeah.
abrupt. Maybe I
Yeah.
meant abrupt.
Yeah.
Maybe
A
did I mean
little of
abrupt?
both.
I think I meant both. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna keep rambling on. Like I said, I mean, it's just
No.
I think if everybody kind of took that, and I'm also the kind of person where in today's day and age, I just push for love and peace because everything is effed, and I want to help sustain and build a community that it's not.
Yeah.
A place where people can go to escape this reality that we call reality and come on to a group where, that's exactly what I do. That's what I use this for. Like that's my favorite part about everything Milsim is it's not just a game. When you think of Milsimming, it's not Arma Reforger, it's not Arma 3, it's not Arma 2, it's not Squad, it's not Hell Let Loose. It's the people. It's everybody who's in the community. It's not the game itself. It's not an entity. It's almost a living entity.
Hmm.
And, if we don't start taking care of it, just like any living entity that gets neglected, it's going to die.
Yeah.
And I think that would be heartbreaking for a lot of people. And I think if we put some TLC, some elbow grease into, and I'm like, again, I'm not saying it's needing that, but to build it further upon that, oh, I think that Arma server would grow to like easy 500,000.
Well, I think you kind of led on to something there that might strike a chord with a lot of listeners because I mean, yeah, there's some attitude online. I mean, it's the internet. There's always been guys that like to, trolls and people that just like to cause trouble or they got a chip on their shoulder. But yeah, when you see guys take stuff personally, in a game, or clans or units are kind of beefing with each other and causing issues and like you said trying to poach but doing it what do you say, I guess maliciously, it really, yeah, it sours the mood for everybody, because like you said, it's all about the fun. We got, like I said, we got our different styles, our different perspectives here coming into the games. But yeah, I think I'd like to see that because as a moderator on a couple of discords, I mean I've had to go and delete people's just garbage, that they're shit talking or just nonsense sometimes, just open hostility. Yeah, it's just like it,
Right.
it does no good for anybody. It just causes more problems when we're, like you said, we're trying to come here to have a good time and
Exactly.
kind of check out from the real world for a few hours at a stretch. So yeah. Now personally,
Very well said.
yeah, I mean, it's a thing. So, but we covered a lot here. But let me ask you personally. I mean, I got a deep look into the unit and what drives you as a leader. But what is it that keeps you going like long term? What is it that keeps you coming back each week in Milsim? Whether it's the game or something else in the genre. What do you like most about Milsim gaming?
Well, this is probably the most authentic answer you'll get, just simply out of the fact that like there's so much crap going on in my life right now that the fact that I make time for video games is virtually insane. It's it's for me specifically, it's how do I word this? Offering that experience, giving people the ability to load up onto a server and have fun with people. Being the one to provide that experience because I know there's plenty of other people out there who provide that experience as well. I'm just happy to be one of them and put my own touch into it.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
I'd like to think I do it all right.
Yeah, I mean, you're facilitating, those good times. So absolutely, and I never really thought of it that way, but it is, I've put missions together, so I guess I can relate. But yeah, when you do all that work, you set it all up, you press start, and people come in there and just have a blast. That's
Oh,
that is
100%.
something that
I think
inspires you.
I think my most rewarding feeling as a CO is when I have to hit the server reset and then I'm the first one in and then I just see names popping in, popping
Right?
in,
Yep.
popping in,
Yep.
popping in. It's the kind of dopamine rush that really is unique to itself. Like you will
Hmm.
never get that feeling from anything else except from doing that.
Yeah, you're right. Never thought of it that way. That's
Excuse me.
cool. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your dream operation. I always like to ask leaders about this. If you were going to make like like the ultimate kind of epic killer blockbuster mission, what would it look like?
You know, I saw this and part of me wishes I would have done a little research um into other answers because I wanted to know if anybody else said this. So let me know if they have, and they probably have because it's an amazing idea. Lone survivor, start to finish, a lone survivor operation.
No, I can't remember anybody going that hardcore. That would be something
Perfect.
else.
That's beautiful. That's amazing for me. We've dabbled in it. Me and a couple of guys on my server set it up. Uh, kind of, and we did a rough draft essentially. And I think once we're back on the Anize map specifically, we'll probably do it in that southeastern region.
Yeah, it is interesting.
But no, that story has always fascinated me. The fact that Marcos Luttrell was able to survive that scenario goes to show the true strength of the human spirit.
Hmm.
He's always been somebody I've looked up to,
Yeah,
100%.
gotcha. Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Now let me
And I'm
ask.
sure. Oh, sorry,
No, no,
no,
go
you're
ahead,
good.
please.
I was just gonna say, I'm sure the movie was had the Hollywood effect, obviously, but
Sure. Yeah,
I
always.
read. I just wanted to say that I read everything beforehand before the movie, so I got the full scope. There's definitely no propaganda that led me to believe that.
That's funny. We'll be talking about movies here in a moment, but I wanted to ask you. I mean, yeah, that sounds like a killer mission to me, and probably pretty damn tough as well. But going over the history, the background, the community within TF72. Are there any traditions, any unique rituals within the unit that we haven't talked about?
Excuse me. Um, ye unique or weird?
Hey, I mean, it's
Both.
yeah. You look it up in the dictionary, you're going to see both
It's
words there. So
that's fair. I wouldn't call it weird. It's definitely unique. The so a lot of my guys are, like I said, with the groups of them. There's a bunch of smaller groups, but there's one main one where there's like 10 of them, and then another one where they know each other, where it's like 8 of them. So there's like almost 20 guys that came from a very similar group and all that. So they already have their own camaraderie, and it's amazing. I love seeing it because they already talked shit to each other 2 days into the unit. It's awesome. But no, so after they brought this tradition in from I'm not sure which unit, but after a campaign operation, you any or the squad leader who ran it will go stare at the sunset or the ocean or go look off, and then everybody in the squad will firing squad them.
yeah, I would say yeah, that's definitely unique. Maybe a little bit weird. Like I said, you look it up in the dictionary, it's a thesaurus or
Uh,
whatever. That's kind of funny though, and I mean it speaks to, like you said, to the camaraderie there, to the spirit of these guys, how close they are, and just that kind of ridiculous sunset moment there to seal the deal. So that is interesting. Now, we were talking about movies, talking about Lone Survivor here. I got to ask, so for Task Force 72 in general, is there a military movie or a miniseries, even a TV show, that you think best captures the spirit of the unit?
um, yeah.
Hmm.
uh, Hacksaw Ridge.
Ah, how so?
Very good question. Um, my guys love the feeling of hopelessness and being completely screwed. I don't know why. We've specifically this week we've ran the same same operation 3 times where we push east on the same hill. They love it. They goddamn love it. And we push east on this hill, and literally hundreds of Soviet soldiers push them east to west, and they're pushing west to east, and we collide on the top of this hill, and we have to navigate south down to the hill to the riverbed, down the riverbed, and the entire time the troops are just we're constantly under fire, and it's always a shit show. You're constantly having people drop next to you because there's just hundreds of bullets flying. You're gonna get hit. You got somebody dropping next to you, and at the end, it usually turns into one guy going back, grabbing somebody one at a time, bringing them back to safety, and reviving them, going back in, bringing them back one at a time. And it just really gives a, oh, forgive me, what's it, Dawson, Damon Dawson? Ah, forgive me, I forget his name. Of the guy in
Yeah,
Hacksaw
I know
Ridge.
it's D. Shit. Now I'm blanking. Desmond?
Um, Desmond Dawson, yes, Desmond Dawson from Hacksaw Ridge. I would say it really gives off kind
Ah,
of
I see.
his vibe, his what do the kids call it? His aura,
Yeah,
you know.
I gotcha.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, the Japanese are bad enough, but man, facing the Red Horde, man, that's a
and
nightmare.
right. I don't want that to take away, from the tier one abilities that we do for operations. Like there are plenty of times where, we'll do your night raids, your snatch and grabs, whatever you name it. They'll do the fun ones and the ones where they actually have a shot at winning. But for
Sure.
some reason, they love that feeling of complete lost and hopeless. And I think it's just like I won't say they go and love that feeling. That's kind of a bad way to word it. But just kind of the chaos that ensues while this is happening is just it's fun. It's
Yeah,
really fun,
it's gonna challenge
especially just
everything.
we have so many different utilizations. I forgot to mention at the very beginning we also have an armor unit, very brand new. That's why I forgot.
Oh, okay.
But with that, we when we do this operation, we'll go in infantry on foot with their ODA attachment, and they'll be moving through. And it's usually once they're on under fire that's when they call in the Apache. That's when they'll call in the armor and the cavalry, and it ensues for a really chaotic cinematic environment every time you do that style of operation.
Yeah, sounds like it. So that sounds good to me, man. I mean, it was a good movie. Yeah, I mean, war is hell.
It
It's
very
like,
much
yeah, I
is.
don't want, like I said, I'm not really looking forward to fighting the Russians anytime soon. But if that what gets your adrenaline going, man, so be it. So that's a good title. Now, I mean, we have definitely taken a very deep dive into the unit here, and I got to ask, as not only the host here of the podcast, but also as a moderator and a staff member at milsimunits.com. How's your experience been since you've subscribed to the tier one platform status? I mean, have we been able to help you? Do you think? And what else can we do to support your development of Task Force 72?
Absolutely amazing for the first question. I'll get to the second one in a second. Um, my time here has been just simply amazing. Like being able to have a platform with, I'm currently looking at it, 63 unit leaders online, uh, you know, 65 unit recruiters online,
Yep.
having a nice organized system where I can go to and be like, what if I'm looking for a specific type of reinforcement for an operation that we don't do, but one of the Navy units does, or et cetera, et cetera. Just having the ability to have a place to go it's almost like a safe net in a way.
Hmm.
And it's supportive. You guys have been really supportive, like ever since I have been tier one with your guys' community here. Every time I've gone back to that ticket, it's always the respect is always reciprocated back and forth. And my any of the issues that I have, like when the bot had a hiccup for like 2 hours that one night or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it happened to be over the re-entry period or the 11:59. Um, like the very next day, like it was dealt with, and I guess I'm rambling now. The support is amazing. You guys are amazing. Um, the only thing through my couple of months here that I've noticed, excuse me, oh, I unmuted too early. The only thing I've noticed is, and this is my one recommendation, is in the recruitment of troops, I would pin a message saying the outlines of the recruitment posts. Because I know it's at the very top.
Mm.
LaFlash put the thing saying once every 24 hours kind of thing, whatever.
Right.
I think he had an extra statement underneath it. But if you were to pin that, because I know a lot of these unit leaders, when they come into forums like this, they'll check the pins of recruitment tabs, be like no pins, and then they'll post 3-4 times in a day, and then they'll unwilling or unknowingly break a rule. Versus if that was just simply laid out, I think that'd be very simple. But literally, that is the only thing I've noticed. Other than that, the community you guys have created here is just amazing.
Gotcha. Well, I certainly appreciated it. I mean, that's our aim here. We want to bring people together, specifically leaders, but the general, community, populace, across the world for that matter. So the fact that we can kind of get you together so you can network, like you said, kind of work together to solve problems or balance out an issue on a server, that's what we like to hear. It's what we really hope for, as we continue
Right.
to develop the platform and attract more members. So yeah, whatever we can do, man. That's the thing. How to post a ticket. So whatever we can do to help, let us know because that's the thing. We want to bring out the best in everybody, every unit, and just again foster that good time together. So appreciate the feedback most definitely.
Of course.
Now, we have. I've learned a lot personally. I think our audience has definitely learned a lot about your unit, and its strengths, its points of development, its unique aspects, the community that you've fostered, this year. If there's anything else, I mean, is there anything in your mind that you want the audience to know about Task Force 72 that we haven't covered?
If you if you're scared to join the Milsim community, because that's fair, it can seem intimidating at times. Task Force 72 is one of many units um, that are very good to start off in. Because sometimes people will get intimidated and they'll get turned away by those bigger groups who are 100%, absolutely realistic. They go down to the paperwork. And they'll see that and they'll kind of get dissuaded and turned away. And I just want to put another message out there saying that's not all it is. There is so much to the Milsim community that I wouldn't even be able to list it all if we deleted the last hour and only went in on that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, there's so much to offer that I'll just say it like there's a couple of units, but if you find the units and we're one of them, to use it as an entry point, and I'll be more than happy to have you around for a month until you're comfortable to join another unit. I will not be offended. It's as simple as that, But if you want to use this as a stepping stone to get into the community and get comfortable with more Milsim or more chillsim, feel free. But like I said, my biggest concern is when you're through the doors, that's when you're family. At this point, I put it in my recruiting posts at the very beginning saying join a brotherhood. There were 4 of us in the server. There was no brotherhood. Now there is.
Hmm.
There truly is. And going to sleep every night knowing that I'm content. I'm happy. And there's nothing that could strip me of that happiness, obviously, except if it fell apart.
Right. Sure.
Nothing would. Nothing could. It's just that this is what I've wanted for a very long time is just have a community that people can go to where, we have people of all demographic, all cultures. And your demographic and culture may get joked about, but it's exactly that, a joke, because we're family, we're a brotherhood, and I don't know, it's a good place to start.
Hmm.
But that's really it. We're doing our thing over here.
All right. Now, I'm going to post links to your milsimunits.com profile page as well as your Discord server. Let's say somebody is listening in and they want to get started. What's the best way to get involved with the unit?
Really simple actually. It'll be one of 3 guys. It's me or 2 of my close buddies who respond to you. You just come in through the link that I assume will be here. You go in, all the information will be visible. You'll be able to see all the information necessary, the positions we offer, everything. And if you're interested, there'll be one form or one little chat box that isn't information. It'll be an application form. Just open a ticket and just let me know what you want to do. And I will say this, I have not made one person do what they don't want to do. Unless you want to go special forces, then you got to wait for selection.
Yeah, it is what it
That's
is.
yeah, but they'll probably assume that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm looking at the server now, so yeah, seems pretty simple, guys. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to learn more, you want to take a look for yourself and get started with TF72, click those links, take a look. Now, Reacher, it's really been great talking to you tonight. Appreciate getting the unit out into the wider kind of Milsim universe here. Again, keep in touch. Looking forward to talking and working with you going down the line here as you develop. But yeah, good time. So thanks for joining us.
Of course, man. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gents, so that is another podcast with milsimunits.com. I appreciate you joining us here for this one. We got some more in the works. I got some more unit leaders scheduled for future releases here in the upcoming weeks and months. So looking forward to getting back online and again sharing some of the best and most active units out there in the community with you on the other side. So until next time, this is C. Brock signing off.